On behalf of Flow Bangalore and Chairperson Dr. Nupur Handa, I, Kirti Arvela from the Business Finance Vertical, and our esteemed Joint Treasurer, Vinita Jain, warmly welcome you to this momentous event, Breaking Barriers, Balancing Budgets. A few house rules before we begin this event. Please request for pin drop silence as we wait for our distinguished speaker. And can I see your phones, please? Does everyone have your phones here? Please put it on stealth mode, silent, airplane mode, whatever you want, but it has to be on silent mode, yeah? Thank you. We request you to refrain from any conversation and strictly no selfies. Also, please do not move around during the course of the event. You have to remain seated throughout the event. While we wait, Vinita and I would just like to give you an overview of Flow. Flow Bangalore is committed to empowering women. This year, our chair, Dr. Nupur Handa, has established two key clusters, social initiatives and business enterprise. While social initiatives is led by Vandana Sarin, and business enterprise cluster is led by Bindu Shastri, who is a former National Flow Board member for startups. Bindu, can we have you here?
Good morning, everybody. So I had the business enterprise cluster. Thank you, Nupur, for this opportunity. And we have a whole treasure of skill and talent and a lot of professionals in FICCI Flow Bangalore, and we've tried to accommodate all of them inside our business cluster as team members. And we have curated a lot of different workshops, hands-on experiences, which surely will benefit your business and you as a professional. So feel free to get in touch with any of us. So there are 4 verticals under the cluster, and I think you would have seen the messages. So feel free to get in touch with me and my team members, and it'll be a great rocking year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bindu. So please ensure you catch her during brunch today. And with that, I want to bring about our favorite topic, Vinita, financial literacy.
Absolutely.
Vinita, our treasurer here, champions the cause.
And of course, we've been doing this now for, 2.5 years. Thanks to Jayashree, she's sitting here, she brought in personal finance. And how many of us, I'm sure, we get intimidated about concepts like GDP, inflation, growth, internal rate of return. Not anymore, Sue, please don't say that. I'm sure Bangalore chapter, has gone past that. And the 350 members here shows that, we've taken to this so nicely. Today FM is coming here speaking about women empowerment. And it just goes to show that how keen we ladies are, and it's such a natural process for us. It's just that initial nudge that is needed, I think, and then just we can, fly with this concept. So thanks so much that we've all been here, and please maintain the, the strict discipline that we've been talking about. That's extremely important because it goes to show what Flow Bangalore chapter is all about. I think we'll also now step down because FM would be coming anytime. We will have the national anthem once we are standing for the same, and then we'll take it forward from there. Phone is off, right? Please don't try to take photos or selfies.
Please stand upon FM's arrival and remain standing. We will be playing the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मङ्गलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Flow Bangalore chapter, it is with great honor, pride, pleasure, and excitement we extend a heartfelt welcome to the esteemed Minister of Finance and Union Minister of Corporate Affairs, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman. At Flow Bangalore chapter, our motto is Power to Empower, and we firmly believe in empowerment of women and the promotion of financial literacy. With the membership of 1240 members, we are committed for creating a more inclusive and empowered society. Kindly request Dr. Nupur Handa, the chairperson of Flow Bangalore chapter and a passionate advocate of financial literacy, to felicitate Madam with a unique creation what we have got today.
Yes. Welcome, ma'am. This is the Pochampalli silk
This special
dupatta,
Pochampalli double ikat dupatta
hand woven.
is exquisite creation from Telangana, which exemplifies the artistry of handloom craftsmanship with intricately woven motif, reflecting Flow Bangalore chapter support for handloom and natural weaves. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just request Nupur Handa to take over.
Yes. Good morning, my dear friends, members of Flow Bangalore, the Presidium, Madam Honorable Finance Minister and Minister of Corporate Affairs. Thank you for being here on this August morning. Flow Bangalore is a 1250 member organization. We are pan-India, 11,000 members. Our motto is Power to Empower, and by that we stand firm, not only at the membership level, but also at grassroots level. So we are making all the efforts to make the difference at our membership level to empower them with knowledge and skill, as well as at the grassroots level, promoting artisans at the local level, like hand-woven, the dupatta that we've given you. And we've partnered in the last 20 days with two organizations, Vidya and Gulab Seva, which is, again, a skilling initiative for the grassroots level women in Karnataka. Ma'am, we are really honored to have you here. The flow of events is going to be your keynote address, which I request you to present to our membership. And then there will be a moderation event, question and answers, a few, and something light for the women to get empowered by your presence. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Good morning, and very energizing to have a hall full of women. And of course, we have eminent men among us as well. It's always encouraging to see women who've come out, come forward, and with a common cause, such as what has been described by you. There's so much to achieve, and there's so much to also take forward. I would think there's no end to this travel. You come forward, you take up some leadership positions, and you take up what I would think very worthy causes for which you start spending time. You realize that it is very rewarding. It also empowers, as your motto goes. It empowers a lot more women who otherwise would not have had the chance. So it is in that context, I say it's not a negative interpretation or negative perspective, but this is something which has to keep going, generation after generation. Because after all, in economies, world over, there have been very high points achieved, after which you think there cannot be a decay, but decadence set in, and then the inherent talents, the qualities of leadership, artistry, and inclination and aptitude all come to a low because of various other factors and reasons. But from that low, human civilization in any part of the world has given us enough examples to see that it lies low, not for long, and then again it rises. So it is a quest to keep it alive and flourishing. So it's not as if once you've reached a high, we can all sit back. It is necessary to sustain it, and therefore women's leadership, women coming forward, other than personal entrepreneurial success or professional success, the bit that we do towards keeping our surroundings empowered, women around us empowered, and women around us also to seek confidence from the kind of efforts that we do is very critical. And in India today, we are at that position where there is hope, people see prospects. People are also saying that if only they get that access to opportunities, even they can do their own. And it is in that context that the role that FICCI Flow plays is going to make a difference. And it is not as if something you can hope to do for the 5-10 years coming, and after which it will obtain a traction of its own. It will obtain a traction of its own, no doubt, but women will need continuously, generation after generation, women who come will need that kind of a support and direction setting, and also most importantly, giving them the confidence in believing in what they do. And therefore, appreciations for what you're doing, for all your participation, and the way in which you're taking things forward. And thank you very much for this beautiful Pochampalli Ikat. I say today is a time when India is looking up with a lot of opportunities, being clear on the kind of achievements that India has obtained. And in that context, not just women, but the society as a whole, particularly post-COVID, we have realized that it is the strength of the people which has helped India to come out of the COVID crisis. Economy had come down to a standstill, and that was a deliberate policy because nobody had a clue as to how to handle the pandemic till such a time we had the vaccine coming. Until then, we had to safeguard lives, and therefore we didn't want to expose any people to any kind of harm from anywhere because it was as random as that. It could be from here, it could be from there. So you had to keep sure that people are kept to their own safe environments, and after that is when we can pick up on certain activities to slowly restore the economy. And it is not just India, but I think globally that was the only way in which initial prevention of further spread of the epidemic was undertaken. But after that, when the vaccine started coming, and when people saw that there is an end to this pandemic, it is then that people's own entrepreneurial skills came out. They came up with a lot of new things. In fact, the number of people, and I'm giving you one random example, the number of people who during the pandemic, having all the time in their hand, didn't have to travel or whatever, did so many other things in which they had personal interests. Women have now mastered, very many of them have mastered what can be called as cloud kitchens. Fantastic signature gourmet is coming out of these experiments. And it is not just kitchen related. Many women have really written books. Some of them are novels, some of them are experiences which they went through. Some of them are even recording how the family coped with such a thing. Because everybody was at home and somebody had to bear the brunt of keeping the household going. So it led to a lot of human understanding of the situation, however stressful it was. Many of them have found talent coming out and as a result utilized that time in very constructive ways. And as a result, we are very better off today for all the knowledge which has come out of that time. Equally, you also had women very happily engaging in investment options. Many of them have gone to the retail participation in stock markets. They've realized it's much more rewarding to be there. Of course, risk-ridden, but better than putting it in a safe fixed deposit. So the actual number of retail participation in the stock markets have gone up, and India saw one of the highest retail participation in stocks and shares during that period, and that momentum has continued. With the equal speed, I can also say how women have adapted to the digital public infrastructure which Government of India has provided. Many of them have started seeing prospects of accepting payments through digital modes. As a result, many of them have tasted newer markets, newer customers, and they want to have more of it naturally. So, at one go, you have a canvas before yourselves of an India where women are at the forefront of what is diametrically changing today in India, in a fast changing Indian environment, be it in labor participation, be it in savings, which is normally attributed to domestic savings, which goes only to post offices, be it in using technology to promote their skills and talents. Women have shown unbridled enthusiasm. And this is very constructive. It's not as if they've broken the shackles of, patriarchy. These are words which I'm very careful about using. I'm not sure what alternative I have. But many of us have always felt very comfortable doing within our realm a lot of things which get recognized. So what I want to highlight here is, with only some understanding and extension of support from the government, how much more can be achieved. For not just those women who have some resources in their hand, some access to opportunities in their hand, but also for those women who don't have any one of those. So I just want to highlight some of those features which has enhanced women and their participation. I wouldn't want to load you with numbers, but the avenues through which government has reached people are very critical, because for women who cannot have any collateral, women who can't go to the banks with, let's say, papers showing I have this property, so I want some money. Even for those women today, the government schemes have helped them to get small loans, perform better in them, and then progress. I've gone to some very remote parts of this country. And as a matter of fact, because we are interested in saturating every scheme, and when I say saturating, let us say in a far-flung area. And when I say far-flung, I can give you one of the recent examples of far-flung area where I've been. And it'll also tell you the kind of distance it is away from Delhi. I was asked by my party organizers, to reach out to one area called Siaha. It's a district in Mizoram. That area has a autonomous council governing it. When you know of autonomous councils you have in Assam, for instance, Kokrajhar, areas like that, where you have a particular typical tribal people or a particular typical group which has maintained its distinct identity, which wants to govern itself. The Constitution recognizes that kind of a unique feature of that set of people and gives them the right by the Constitution to have an autonomous council. So Siaha district in Mizoram has Mara people living there, and Mara Autonomous Council governs them. Just to let you know where exactly this is, it's in the southeast corner of Mizoram, very close to Myanmar's Sittwe seaport. Meaning Sittwe is only about 60 kilometers from where I have been. It's literally closer to Myanmar than to Delhi or any other metropolitan town in India. And there, the kind of enthusiasm, particularly you find that kind of an enthusiasm among people in the Northeast, particularly women in the Northeast. I asked them, for instance, to just ensure that the numbers that the system produces for you are not just numbers. I wanted to find out from them as to how many of them have benefited from PM Mudra loan. PM Mudra is a very small ticket loan given for people who want to do small businesses. It is not the Swanidhi. Swanidhi is a different one. Swanidhi is given only to the street vendors. So Mudra is any business which wants to do their small expansion or newer activity, which gets small ticket loans. So there are 3 layers. One, first of all, small ticket, and then 10,000, 25,000, at best 50,000. Later on, it enhances itself. In a public meeting which was held in a junction which is connecting 4 roads, I was surprised to find on their own women putting up their hand. Yes, I've got Mudra. Yes, I've got Swanidhi. Yes, I've got stand-up. I'm only taking these 3. What are stand-up loans? We are in Bengaluru, so it's easy for us to relate. That startups are a big thing from 2016 because of the policy and because of the support and because of the way in which globally startups have become the in thing. We had a big contribution to make that continues. Many of them have become now unicorns, some of them have become decacrons because their valuation is going up. At that time when it was launched, the policy to favor startups, it was felt that startups may end up being only in metropolitan towns, particularly Bengaluru or Hyderabad or Gurgaon and places like that. So what happens to those in tier 2 cities or rural areas who still would have some innovative ideas to work on? So there was a particular scheme which was run through the banks called Stand Up. And Stand Up very clearly directed banks for every one branch that they may have in an area. They should extend loans similar to the startup for innovative ideas which happen in that area among SCs, among STs, and among women. The number of women who have utilized this per branch, per bank is astonishing. And that shows that the aptitude for an innovative activity is not the privy of those who are in metropolitan areas. Women that far away are amazing in the way in which they are readily working out ways in which they can go sit up with the manager or anybody in the bank and say, look, I want to do this in their own style. And as a result, banks are able to extend facilitation for them. If this is very systematic and you thought this is working through some, people who are facilitating, look at the way in which in the last 1.5 to 2 years, women belonging to self-help groups, again, women in rural areas, women who are less privileged, women probably who have not done out-of-the-box things. The way in which this attempt that women should operate drones in villages was received, astonishing. From the self-help group, they make a choice. Government does not touch. They make a choice of which are the few women from that self-help group who will be ready for getting trained to operate drones. And why do they have to operate drones? Because the government thought we should enable women in the rural areas for two reasons. Rural areas, still the person who drives the tractor is a male. Still the person who deals with the land for activities other than weeding the undergrowth. Weeding the undergrowth is mostly women because it's laborious, it's cumbersome, it's monotonous. Women get going doing this. But those who do the spraying of the fertilizer or the pesticide or drive the tractor, take the stuff which has come out of the field are men. So when you operate drone in the hands of women, you're sending also a very strong message to the villages that they are equal, if not even better. And men have still not started using drones in the villages. So you're putting the women much before them. And the enthusiasm with which women have come forward. Because the stereotype that is in our mind is women are coy, they wouldn't want to come forward, particularly in a rural area. You know, my father-in-law is watching me or my mother-in-law would be angry. No, they came forward happily saying, Dito. And the way in which they are at ease operating, it's amazing. And for once, I would strongly recommend women from middle class, metropolitan towns, educated, and have seen opportunities in life to go watch that. Raw confidence it is. And it's such a pleasure to watch. It's such a pleasure to watch. And after that, they start imagining the commercial possibilities. Because they've seen in local shadis, men saying photography now with drones and, charge a moon for it. They say now, all right, is this only for the farm? I'll use it for photography as well.
Wow.
So they're going to now compete. That's not going to be pleasant, but yes, they will. So the attempt by the government is not just to make the women feel, all right, I'm giving you hand-holding help. You need that support. You will get some money. You make your own achars and papads. No. We are doing something else totally different. You want to do achar papads, do it, no problem. But you want to do a drone, come out. So the attempt is, in a way, addressing a long festering problem of attitudes. A problem of attitudes and a benefit of attitudes. Women are ready to do. Let them benefit with it. And there are people who think women may not be able to deal with it. So you're able to. So when the SHGs have now been given money to probably even buy drones, support their own women who are trained now, they are seeing an absolutely new domain into which they can enter. Till now, it's only local skills. You're very good at embroidery, do it. You're very good at some things which are very typically local, do it. But now, it's a total different play area. They've moved over to a totally different level. From 4 months to 6 months maternity paid leave for those who are in formal jobs. It's a big thing. But what happens to those who are not in formal jobs? You're thinking out of the box. And when you're thinking out of the box, you're not meeting with failure. Because women are ready. That's what happened with the digital public infrastructure. The vegetables seller, or even those days when people didn't come to the shops, they were seated in the place where they collected the vegetables, and you could go pick it up from them. Even there, they were with the QR code. They didn't for a moment think, oh, this is beyond me, this is technology, this is something. I need my boys to come and help me. I need my man to come and help me. No. I think now, like the senior citizens who want their grandchildren to, download an app and give their phone to them, the men are also wanting. So you find that women are very quick to change. They're very adept at adapting to things. They don't need a huge feminist dolbaji. Many of them wouldn't have heard feminism, but they know to assert without having to disrupt the whole thing. And when they know to assert, they have benefited their families. Know to assert, earn more, not to spend on drinks. Come back home and thrash the spouse. No. We are still talking about that layer of the poorest sections of the society. So they have not done that. With that advancement in the way in which they can profile themselves, they've gone back again to strengthen the family. It is that story which I want to highlight to you today. Give them more and more empowering steps or initiatives. It goes back to the family, and women and children are feeling absolutely today revved up. Whether you're talking of women who are living in Dharavi or the Mara autonomous region or some parts of Andhra Pradesh where I've seen movements after movements. All of us have heard. Must be about 40 years ago, when Andhra Pradesh's women led a movement saying we don't want drinks at all, bring prohibition. A government was thrown out of power. A lady from Nellore, if I remember correct, she stood out as a champion of women because they had enough of drinks coming into the public. Well, today they've gone a full cycle. Prohibition, no prohibition, part prohibition, now completely opened up the dam. It just flows. You don't get water like that, but liquor is available. So with the changing times, even with that allowed, you find women are able to cope and remain their true selves, that they may advance, they may progress, they may economically be completely independent, but their thoughts are with the families. Their thoughts are with their children. Their thoughts are with even some of the wretched partners with whom they live with torment. So I go back to saying, FICCI Flow, you have a great advantageous position. You are able to see women on the ground, women in action, women who either are under torment or women who want to do better things for themselves. You are so luckily placed to be able to get that access that you have enjoyed in some fashion, not completely, not exactly in the same way as you have enjoyed, to those women. And what a difference they enjoy, and you see what a difference you have brought to them. So I would strongly recommend to continue with the great work that you're doing. Every policy of the government is keeping not women in the center any longer. Women are in the forefront. The G20 India experience under the Indian presidency is something which you should go into depths to understand. How, therefore, the world thought of India and what they think of it now. And I know for sure Brazil has very clearly left it, saying India has done phenomenally in bringing women-led development. But of course, they may have to do a lot more work to be even somewhere close to what India did. But that recognition that India's women are ready, not just a political ambition to have women come in the forefront, and the steps that I will now say, I know the Election Commission is watching me. I'm not seeking votes. I'm only telling you the matter of fact, which I'm entitled to because I'm part of this government. Continuous policy monitoring, whether it is from the point of view of gender ratio at birth, the way in which Haryana at one point in time suffered. And today their sex ratio has gone up. And it's not just one going up, it's been sustained that level for some time. How the Poshan Abhiyan had made sure adolescent girls get nutrition. Because there wasn't any interest in that pouches which were being given to women, iron, folic acid, no. So a locally built-in system of local vegetables, local sprouted beans, and telling women why it is important, give them the local flavor food and make it acceptable. Even that goes on. At the other extreme, I have spent myself a lot of time looking at qualified women to become directors, independent directors in companies. Very many talented women, very many such eligible women who can come into these boards, but who don't want to come. You know, I have enough to do. I don't want to come and sit there, even if you're giving me per sitting this much money. But it is required. We need women to be in boards, to guide them through. Be sensitive. Be sensitive to women and be sensitive to the society. So whether it is that extreme, or to make sure, like in our science, you have more and more women coming into STEM nowadays. You know, science, technology, engineering, and math. Look at the number of women scientists. We give them a lot of prominence. They've achieved it on their own. I'm not for a minute saying it's government which made them study physics. They did it on their own. They've come, they've launched rockets. But we give them the recognition. So, the steps, my initial remarks will not be longer than this. So at every stage, keeping women at the forefront, understanding issues from a women's perspective and therefore making your policies to reflect that, whether it's your banking principles, whether it is your governance principles, whether it's schools, whether it is public places where women need to have their open public area. So there's ever so much happening in giving women the prominence. I would want FICCI Flow to constantly keep engaging with governments, both at the local level, state level, and at the central level, to say what are the thoughts which are in your mind, what are the kind of things you want to do for your own core businesses, but what are the things that you're feeling, understanding, and engaging in from outside of your business, like the way Flow does, and give the inputs so that the participation of women in building a developed India for 2047 is clearly out there, so that women are not just in the fringes of this development of this country. They are at the core, they are at the front of building a developed India. Thank you very much.
So I have my business finance head, Kirti Aruvilla, and my joint treasurer, Vinita Jain. We three will be co-moderating. I will start with the few questions, hand it over to them, so that it becomes more interesting. Breaking glass ceilings. You are an inspiration to many women in this room. In your experience handling Defense Ministry, Finance Ministry, and the corporate affairs, what key steps do you think are necessary to break the glass ceiling for women aspiring to take leadership roles?
I think we should recognize there's no glass. There may be a ceiling somewhere, but that's for everybody. And there's no need for breaking a glass ceiling. The glass is in our mind. We think there is a ceiling. If there is a ceiling, it is for everybody. So I think we should just crack it within ourselves and say, just keep going.
Very well. So, Nari Shakti, juggling roles, be it a mother, a daughter, daughter-in-law, your journey from being listed as the powerful figure in Forbes to your roots as a simple girl working in a Habitat home decor is very inspiring. What pivotal lessons have you learned along this journey and that you believe that can empower other women striving for this similar success?
I normally stay away from a question like this because each of our experiences are so different. But maybe today I can for sure say with some confidence that we tend to look at people who undermine us, people who speak, who think they are speaking the truth by saying, oh, no, a woman cannot do it, she cannot do it, so and so cannot do it. Human psychology will make you see that, hear that repeatedly, and also make that sound louder and louder. They must have said it once, but you'll hear it 1,000 times. The big thing, I think, is just don't care. It's a big lesson. It's not being indifferent. It's not being arrogant. But the forces which undermine you, the forces which make you think that you're a lesser being, the forces which make you see that you are made up of a certain stuff but not made up of some other stuff. I'm not sure if the story or this little parable is completely relevant to the context, but some way it brings the message. So I'll say that. Sometimes in management, I think teaching management schools give this. There was a race. It was a slippery pole on which 10 animals were made to stand and say, climb it. Whoever climbs it fast will be the winner. And who were the animals? You had a fish, you had a monkey, you had a giraffe, you had an elephant, you had a lion, and many more such. Do you think others will win except for the monkey? No. But to say in front of this pole that, it is this pole that you have to climb, and it is this pole in which you will have to compete with the monkey, and therefore, oh, you elephant, you will never win. Does that convey anything at all? The elephant is meant to be doing differently and in different terrain. The lion has its own role. The fish has its own. Take the monkey into a sea and put the fish into the sea and also the monkey. Will the monkey succeed? So I think all of us will have to constantly look at things with which you want to keep going. And of course, there you have to be ethical, you have to be honest, you have to be completely dedicated. So one, don't care for those negative, undermining comments. Even if they are your well-wishers who tell you, no, don't take this risk, it's very dangerous. Don't be foolhardy. But think calmly and then move forward. But if this voice repeats, I think you should just ignore. It's not so much for cautioning you, it's not so much for goodwill in your interest. It's so much for saying, hey, don't be too thing about it, you're a woman anyway. That bus should be chucked out of your ears. Throw it.
Very inspiring. I think self-belief. Yes. I think self-belief, and whenever in self-doubt, throw it out. Yes. I think that's a good conveying. Early days, what inspired you to choose your educational aspirations? And did you foresee yourself working for India, or it just happened organically? And what suggestions do you give to the young women out there in choosing the right career path for them? Any particular advice for the youth to pursue politics as a career?
Absolutely. Please pursue politics as a career. We need more women, more young women. We need women, particularly now that the Women's Reservation Bill is passed. Every party is going to look for women who can represent at least the 33%, which is now going to be compulsory, whenever it is. after the census. So be ready for it. Be ready for it and be sure you're there. Don't leave it for others. Of course, others meaning other women also. Why shouldn't you be there? So I would strongly call upon everyone to keep politics as one of the options for yourselves. And in the process, make sure you build some kind of a specialism for yourselves. In the business in which you're doing, even if you keep excelling in that, and when you move to politics, your contribution will be taken very seriously. Because it is one thing to be a jack of all trades, but also particular expertise in particular areas gives you that one upper hand in deciding where you want to be within politics as well.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that's well taken advice. So now the questions goes to Vinita. These are some
Thank you, ma'am.
questions that we asked the audience previously. We've chosen a few questions relevant to today's context, and they will present it on behalf.
Ma'am, so this question is more with exports and your view on those, whether, what according to you looks more promising, export of services, export of manufacturing goods, and what do we do more to increase exports, which we feel is going to be a part in benefiting India?
Well, export of services anyway is doing well.
Yes.
It is doing so well that it contributes more than 60% of our GDP. But that doesn't stop us from improving on our manufacturing, standing up to good quality manufacturing, and finding a market outside for it. And in manufacturing, whether your unit is small or medium or big, everyone has a chance. And today accessing global market is all the more easy because you are so digitally well connected. No part of India is less well connected. So I would think if you have an aptitude for manufacturing, yes, there is still scope.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, considering the average life expectancy in India has increased, do you think that the retirement and welfare policies need any amendments?
No, senior citizens need a lot more attention. Whether they are senior citizens who worked, earned their living, earned their retirement, or senior citizens who are dependent on their children. There is a need for a lot of attention. But equally, I will venture, and pardon me if this is not something which you want me to speak about, but I'll still say, even though there are professional compulsions and our children are abroad, parents are here, there is definitely a disadvantage to many parents because of their children living anywhere else and not somewhere in the same town. I'm not saying sustained joint family. I'm not saying that. That's up to everybody to decide how they want to organize their families and household. But at least an accessible distance so that you can go meet them every now and then, attend to them, I think is very important because even in the Western world, where individuals rank at the top and families normally take it as a given that elders will have to go to homes to stay, elders' homes to stay, are now realizing it psychologically upsets the elders.
Yeah.
And there in the West, elders who are, there's no other framework there. That is the only framework available. But COVID did one thing brilliant and unforeseen even to those societies. Many of the youngsters couldn't afford their own home loans, so they had to go back to where the parents were living. And if the parent was already not in a home, they had to go and live with their parents. And that has now brought in a rethink that without affecting independence of younger generation, together living with parents does good for both grandchildren and the grandparents. Both who need care are better served when there is access to one another. So it's not as if we have to live in a collective joint household, but access and within reasonable time and distance, if you're able to be with your elders as much as you love to be with your children, it builds a healthy society. I think it's important for us to think about it.
Thank you, ma'am. I hand it back to Nupur for some fun questions now.
This is my honorary treasurer Payal has mentioned this so that the women take a very sweet takeaway from the entire process. It's called rapid fire, called Guftagu Questions with Madam. It's fun and light. So, what does a normal day in the life of a working woman finance minister of India look like?
You want me to go by hour? It starts early, goes through a rigor of newspapers, getting ready, a little puja, then office, then files, then go public meetings, then meeting with people and delegations, and then coming back to looking at the files and reading up for the next day. If Parliament is in session, reading up for the questions, and then getting to bed.
Thank you. That is so sweet. We all admire and love the fact that India's finances are managed by a woman. You're an icon and a role model for a lot of women today. But who is the finance minister at home?
Well, at times when my daughter comes to visit me, I'm at a receiving end. You don't cook for me anymore, you don't, take care of me, all that. But when my parents are with me, of course, it's a different story. I spend some time with them, just as I do now, because I've come here. Most times I'm to myself.
You manage the finances.
Yes, of course.
Favorite classical music?
Both Hindustani and Carnatic.
Nice. Top 3 books you would recommend to our members to read?
I read a lot of biographies.
Okay.
It helps to understand human mind. I also read, say, old-fashioned authors, like Somerset Maugham.
Oh, nice.
Then,
Literally want to make a note.
And then, of course, biographies I read about old, young, new people. There are a lot of biographies on even people like Socrates, Aristotle, or Indian Chanakya, Arthashastra. Aurobindo. The thoughts that they come up with are somewhat out of the box, even if they are jaded or if they are particularly to a particular relevant period. So I can always pick a book from each one of them and say it's worth reading it. However complex, however, you can't read them from page to page at one go and put them down saying I've done this. It always helps to go back to them. So I keep going back to books. Some of the books are very, very endearing, so I go read the same chapters again and so on.
Can you share any role model or individual who's had a significant impact on your personal development and your life?
Mostly family members.
Any
Mostly.
name?
And
Your mom and dad?
of course, my mom and dad. My
Including
mama.
mine. Yeah.
Public life, there's been a lot of people from my childhood who I've observed, and they don't belong to any one political party across the board, for each of them for their own respective contribution. But I think if I can look back at it now, it's more looking at them intently, which helps, not a fleeting glance, not just a day's observation. If you go on watching people intently, there's something which comes automatically, I think. You will not believe this, but the more intently you keep watching some person, some of those qualities come into you. I don't know how, but it does happen.
Aura. The aura. Yeah. So all of us.
Oh my God.
This is a last question, but this is related to something that we've partnered with Gulab Seva, so I thought I will bring it up. Cervical cancer is a rising issue amongst women. What is your take on the implementation of HPV vaccination for girls aged 9 to 14 to prevent the cervical cancer?
Well, in this budget, I think we've made an announcement that government will make sure that women receive it. There has been a lot of conflicting thoughts coming even after the government's announcement, whether it is necessary at all at this scale. It may be necessary, but is it necessary at all at this scale and so on? But I think women are the best judge. They should take it, they should take a call on it. But the government has already opened up saying, yes, we are willing to extend that.
Helped out. Fabulous, ma'am. Thank you. I hand over to Vinita to say the vote of thanks.
So, ma'am, on behalf of the entire members here, the Bangalore Flow chapter, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude for your invaluable contribution, dedication, and vision, talking about women empowerment, Nari Shakti, taking us today through your enriching experience from the remote areas, villages of Andhra, Mizoram, and it was actually so inspiring to know about how women are using drones. We would actually now love to go. I think we can
Learn
just
drones
make
ourselves.
this as an excursion from Flow Bangalore chapter. And be it cloud kitchen, be it technology, the QR code, I think we are at a very wonderful time. And thank you so much, ma'am, for your unwavering contribution. If, ma'am, you would permit, can we just take 2 photos also with you? Thank you so much. I request the past chairs to come in.
These are all the chairpersons of the past 10, 12 years since Flow Bangalore chapter came in existence. Each one has added to the growth of the chapter and making women today what they are.